You know what time it is. We're talking Bad Batch episode 12. Come on inside.
What's up, everybody? We are the Jersey Comic Crew. Rob and Chris here, and we're bringing you the greatest from the Star Wars universe. Today, we're talking Bad Batch episode 12, Rescue on Ryloth. This is your spoiler warning, guys. We're going to talk about the events of the episode and how it affects the future of the Star Wars universe. And before we begin, guys, make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe, hit that bell icon, do all the YouTube things that we need you to do to keep moving forward. Now, Chris, first off, I was wrong. They went back to Ryloth. I thought they were going to leave it open-ended, but it makes sense. The Bad Batch aren't just going to leave.
Was I right? I don't. Was I right?
You were right.
Yay! I was right. I don't remember.
Yeah, you said they were going to go back and free the parents, which in this episode they did, right? Hera eventually does give a distress call. He sent it out to the Bad Batch. The Bad Batch is like, oh, who's contacting us?
Mm-hmm.
Omega's like, oh, she needs help with her family. I would do the same thing. We have to go help her.
Yeah, I like that a lot, Rob, because it kind of showed a little more depth to Omega, where she's now just not, she's not just a kid anymore, even though she is a kid, right? She's learning all these adult, very serious things about war and tactics and staying alive and survival of the fittest and kind of this, combined craziness of a child. But now it's kind of like this compassion. She met this, girl that she really had this little friendship with for a quick second.
Yep.
And she's like, hey, I watch you guys help people all the time. Why are we not helping her? So I thought that was really good. I also loved, Rob, the fact that we kind of got to see Admiral Rampart in his kind of, I wouldn't say purest form, but ramped up to see what this guy's about, right? He is all in on finding Hera. He's all in on finding anyone who sympathizes with the Syndulas and just arresting them, which is very kind of our first real glimpse into how the Empire operates. What did you think about that?
I really liked it. We actually get to see him be a character for once, right? Every other time we saw him, it was a glimpse, or he was just paled in comparison. Actually getting to speak and talk was great. And one of the things with this character, when we see the Bad Batch coming in, they're doing scouting operations, and one of the droids figures out, hey, the Bad Batch are here, and Rampart's like, I'll send a team after them.
The Bad Batch here, over here.
He undermines them, right? And at the end of the episode, after everything's said and done, he's like, wow, I should not have underestimated these guys. They're insane. Kind of showing, now the focal point is going to be the Bad Batch versus Rampart with his right wing or right-hand man, Crosshair. So now we're getting finally a clear-cut vision of who the antagonist is going to be, at least for a little while. Before it was kind of open, it was mysterious. It's it's the Empire. We really didn't have that name behind face. We did, I guess, but we didn't really see it. But now with this episode, we finally okay, it's Rampart and Crosshair versus the Bad Batch.
It's awesome. Yeah, I was waiting for that too. Once you kind of got that last shot of the episode where he's permission to go after them, he's granted. I'm let's do it. Let's go. There's 4 episodes left. I can only assume they're gonna come to a head with Crosshair and probably Cad Bane, because there's no way he's out of the picture, and
That's
probably
true.
Fennec Shand.
Yep.
Possibly Rex again. I would love to see kind of this standoff where it seems like the Bad Batch are kind of no way out, and Crosshair has to make a decision, because we saw him hesitate a little bit in this episode. Yeah, and seeing Crosshair in this episode was really good too, because it wasn't just a one and done where you see him kind of shoot somebody or try to kill them. We actually have kind of a little more detail, right? We saw another tactical advantage during this plan where, Crosshair kind of knew they were there once the probe droid, which we see from episode 5, is the same one Han and Chewie shoot and then it explodes. But we see kind of him knowing immediately, okay, they're going to come after the Syndulas in the capital. He's already making preparations. He's the one who kind of figures out the distraction point as everyone's gearing up to go there. So I really like that. I really loved the planning process with Hera kind of foreshadowing her characterization in Rebels as a general of the rebellion, as a general of basically her own team as well. So I love that kind of callback stuff as well.
It kind of seemed like Hera convinced the Bad Batch, right? The Bad Batch weren't going to do it. At least Hunter, he was it was too much risk. And Hera's we need to come up with a good plan. He gave the plan. Omega's we need to help them. We have to do this. And it kind of feels like they're resistant to take that hero role, because they realize how much they're going to have to do. But as the story progressing, I think that they can't avoid it, right? They're going to be listen, we have to help them. We have to help these innocents. There's these things everywhere. Let's do this. And it was great to see them in action, destroying the one base, the whole look over here, and then over here from the shadows you see something else is happening. It was great that Crosshair figured that out immediately. And what was really cool was this end of the scene, the end scene of the episode, and this is one of our major talking points we wanted to discuss. Crosshair has everybody stationed outside, all guns pointed at the exit. The Bad Batch is coming out with the Syndulas, Hera's parents, and they're about to go through the big door and lead right into the trap. Character we saw last week, Howzer, stops them. He says, hey, you're about to go into a big trap. Don't do this. They realized, hey, we're going to go somewhere else, escape. Howzer's going to stay and try to talk to everybody. And, I'm sitting here like, wait a minute, aren't you a clone? Aren't you under Order 66? How do you have free will? Maybe there's something wrong with his inhibitor chip. And I was like, all right, maybe it's just the one guy, right? But then as the door opens, he talks to the other clones saying, hey, we were here to free Ryloth. We did that. Why are we doing this and putting them under tyrannical rule? Who's with me, my brothers? Lay down your arms. And a lot of the troopers there laid down their arms. Not all of them.
Yeah.
And then they got arrested, which brings me to the crux of this episode, Chris. How? Like, that's my question, is how is it possible? Like, how can this clone trooper, who we do or do not know if his inhibitor chip is working, affect all these other ones? Are all the chips malfunctioning? Is it like a herd mentality?
I've been thinking about this a lot, and I've been thinking about it since last week, too, with when we saw Howzer, and he was kind of already questioning certain things that the Empire was doing. And I think it comes down to this question. Is Order 66 based solely upon the clones and their entirety of control and free will and how they work and operate? Or is it based on Jedi? And by what I mean by that is Order 66 activated, obviously, in Episode 3 to take out the Jedi. It was an order that was placed by Palpatine in order to, take out and kill the Jedi and destroy that entire race of people. So, if there are no Jedi, is it still active, right? Because the question is, we see Crosshair kind of being manipulated by the Empire. They were tweaking him, right? We saw him go into like those chambers. They were tweaking his head to kind of make him more susceptible. I don't know if that involves the original plain Order 66, kill the Jedi, anyone who stops you, kill them too. And again, we see it with Wrecker. You're in violation of Order 66. How? Right? They were kind of just standing around. How? Is it a failsafe where they were in violation because they were trying to take the inhibitor chip out, which would be in direct violation? So I think there's this kind of, I think what Dave Filoni is doing is kind of explaining where this starts and ends and where the person and the uniqueness of these clones begin again, because there's millions of clones. There's no way all of them were near a Jedi when Order 66 happened, right? A lot of them might have gotten Order 66 and were like, all right, let's get out of here. There's no Jedi around. Let's just continue doing what we're doing. I think there's a big differentiation in it.
One thing you mentioned, individuality, right? Like when you look in the army, and this is going to be like rough, like any military branch, you have people who are more individualistic, who have these bigger than life personas, right? Yeah. So you look at the Bad Batch, and then you have some of the others who are a little bit more meeker and milder. Yeah. So maybe the ones who are meek and mild, when they're not in front of a Jedi, they just follow orders. They go with the herd, right? Yeah. Howzer, who's very individualistic, right? Maybe that's why he was able to break away.
Maybe.
Other thing could be just as simple. We saw Wrecker hit his head, activated the chip, right?
Yeah.
What if it's other people hit their head, deactivated the chip? It could be as easy as that, right? They're wearing helmets.
Absolutely.
They get hit. They had some brain trauma, even if it's small. Like you think of football players all the time, or boxers, anybody where there's contact, right? You look at a boxer at the beginning of their career, they can speak nice and coherently. At the end, they have a lisp or they're mumbling and stumbling because there's some brain damage, right?
Yeah.
So what if that's the same case with these people? They had some brain damage, and it stopped the inhibitor chip from working, and that's why they can make their own decisions. And maybe some of them who have that, just like, oh, I gotta follow all these guys, otherwise I'm gonna die. I see how this is. I'm just gonna be following orders, which is like, you hear the stories of that in Nazi Germany, right?
Yeah.
So you have all these different aspects of why these people are following orders. And I think, like you said, Dave Filoni is doing a very cool idea here, exploring the mindset of a soldier with orders that like are inherently you have to follow because of the chips in your mind, maybe you have to follow because you're afraid, and some of them have the courage to speak up and break out about it. Yeah. I think this could be a real cool, like social commentary or like introspective look on how soldiers think and act based on orders coming from above. I don't know if they're going to go that deep, but like I'm excited for the ride.
I am too, and to add to your point too, Rob, like this is also kind of not only just exploring the complexity of these clones, right, and making them more than two-dimensional characters, where they kind of drill that into you in Clone Wars, right, yeah. Where the clones are different. Everyone has a different personality, even though they come from the same DNA and they come from this. You know, it's like your brother is different from your sister, and your brother's different from you, and stuff like that. Your personalities are going to be different. Your wants, your desires, all that shit's going to be different. And I think with these clones is, yeah, like it could be as simple as, yeah, the order is still active. If they see a Jedi or come across a Jedi, they're going to go after it. But when that's not happening, that person is still there. And that may come into play, I think, a lot bigger down the road when the Empire starts phasing out these clones for more like brainwashed individual soldiers where,
oh, maybe,
hey, join the Empire. We took over your planet. These are like the only jobs available, right? Or join the Empire. We have benefits in this and this and this and this and this, and you get to be a part of world order, right? Like it'll play on people's kind of negative traits to join, or unfortunately necessity, right? It could be economic. It could be, I know we're getting into socioeconomic, but
no, that's fine.
You know, it seems like that is why they're going to start phasing them out, because of clones like Howzer.
But guys, that is our review of the episode. Really exciting, really cool stuff we saw, especially at the end. We have 4 episodes left, and I'm sure we're gonna get a lot of high action in the coming weeks.
And guys, thanks so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up, really helps the channel out a lot. If you're brand new, subscribe and turn notifications. Like Rob said, we got 4 episodes left. You know we're going to be breaking them down here every single week, so you don't want to miss it. Make sure to check us out on our social media and follow us if you haven't already at Jersey Comic Crew for Instagram and Twitter. And as always, I'm Chris Heller. That's Rob Moran. We're the Jersey Comic Crew, and we will see you next time.